You said awesome, guys. I'm serious.
Awesome. There you go.
Thank you.
So how are you doing tonight?
Good. Glad to be here. Desales put on a great location here. I'm pretty impressed with the campus, man.
Nice. So let's start pretty early on. You
I feel like I should be on the couch here.
yeah. Where do you grow up? Well, that was the plan, but
Yeah. Have the couch?
yeah.
Turn the lights down and
yeah.
then, you know.
Well, no, we were gonna have a couch, but
I grew up in central New Jersey, Edison. Big blue-collar town, kind of like Ohio type thing, but in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, me and my brother, that was the people there. So my dad left when I was 4. We were pretty poor. And that's what forced me, when my mom couldn't give me $1 for pizza, every Friday was pizza, good Catholic neighborhood.
yeah.
And, they didn't have fish back then, so. But, so my mom couldn't give me $1 for pizza, and I said, well, I gotta start making money, so. All the widows and the people could do their own lawns and stuff, I did that, and, from there.
So then when you were about 10 years old, you started Zack Travel. So it's an interesting story. You essentially became a travel agent. So
Yeah. So again, we were the kids that didn't have that stuff, and I kept seeing all the kids whose mom and dads were still around, married and all that, making money and stuff. And they'd go to Disneyland for a vacation or somewhere. They'd go somewhere, and our trips were down to see relatives, and we were very fortunate to have that. But saw everybody traveling, so I said, hey, I could do this. So I literally got on the phone at age 10, and I dialed up all the 800 numbers for Pan Am, which was an airline back then, TWA, and American. Those are the 3 biggies back then, and this is the 70s. And I said, hey, I want to be a travel agent. So they put me through the travel agency group, and I literally had boxes and boxes of brochures and ticket folders, everything coming in. My mother's coming home from working all day. He's like, what is this? I said, and my mother knew better. I don't want to know. So I actually got my first client finally. Somebody convinced, all right, you can buy my tickets. Back then, travel agents made their money from tickets. They got a commission and everything. Hotels a little less, but tickets were the main place they made their money. And I go, great, I'll go get this booked for you and everything. I called airlines. I gave them my number,
Mm-hmm.
and that they gave me, and they said, okay, now we need the other number. And I said, what other number? And they said, that number you get from Washington, I found out, and I'm embellishing it, that you have to put a $5,000 bond up in order to take their money, because it's currency. They're giving you tickets on your, we're going to pay you. And they would send you tickets to your agency, and you'd give them to them when they paid you, and then you paid them. So that sunk my business right off the bat. So we had a lot of brochures and stuff that, for Christmas gifts we gave to people for them. That was my first and quick.
So when you called them to start the company, did you was your voice already cracked, or how did they even let you do this? I mean,
those of you know Aerosmith, Dream On, when he goes way up. Before my voice changed and got where it is today, I could go all the way up to Steven Tyler. And then I think it was 13, 14, it started cracking, and then here we are today. So I don't know what they thought, but I was pretty confident. I was the oldest in our family, and I was the man around the house for argument's sake. I protected me and my brother. We had a rough neighborhood. It wasn't like today's rough, but you had to either fight or talk your way out of things. And I was a new kid. I had hair out to here, pants up to here, so I did a lot of talking.
Yeah.
So I could sell.
Nice.
I've been selling since I was, I guess 8. I get out of fights then. Then I liked fighting, so I used to fight. Now I hate fighting, so.
So you're always the one that people, you got everyone out of everything, so.
I was the Henry Kissinger of the block.
There you go.
I used to talk everybody out of it. We didn't break your window. The cops knew who I was, but in a decent way, not like today. But yeah, I got us out of the trouble.
Nice. So I mean, when Zack Travel plummeted, and then you
yeah, overnight.
You're right, exactly, and you went back to mowing lawns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You grew up. You were 17, and you had a pretty big life change. You wanted to go to college, right?
Yeah, actually, I went to an all-boys prep school, one of the better schools in New Jersey. My mom somehow, I think it took her 4 years after I graduated to pay that off, and it was only $1,500 a year. But back then.
Where did you want to go to college?
Well, I was going to either go to MIT or Carnegie Mellon, and I wanted to go for business computing. I started computing in '82, so we had a mini frame in our school. This at a time when maybe 80% of people went to college. Our school had 90%. It was it was a prep school. And yeah, life changed. So my 21-year-old girlfriend, I did sell her on, I was older. I got pregnant, so we got married, and my daughter's 32 now, I got my first grandson.
Congrats.
Just recently, he'll be 1 December 23rd, so.
Awesome.
Yeah, life changed real quick.
Okay. And when your life changed, what did you decide to do for work?
I sold, and at that time I needed to get some money, and sales was a little more straight commission. So I started driving a truck. I did that in high school. Delivered appliances for a company called Tops Appliance. They were really big back in the day. Actually, were the largest retailer per square foot of any type. We did $110 million at the time out of one store about the size of a Kmart. And I used to drive a truck for them. So I did that in high school a little bit. And then when I found out I was going to be a dad, still in high school, had to provide for my family, and I did. So it wasn't a lot, but became a driver, and one thing led to another.
Nice.
So
and as you were driving, you had that entrepreneurial spirit, and you found something within your company that could have been fixed up a little bit.
Boy, you really dig.
So what did you decide to do when, as a truck driver of this company? What did you decide to do with?
So the company was doing $110 million.
Right.
One of the biggest retail out of this one place. We were massive, and yet they had no computer system. An average ticket sale was $300-400. So everything done with these things, index cards, like Cardex cards is what they used to be called. For the old people, Howie, you might remember them.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Richard, you don't remember, I know.
He was too old.
He was doing too much, something of that. But I saw an opportunity to computerize them. So I wrote a 18-page proposal to them on how to computerize their system, because that's what I did. And I wrote it and gave it to their controller, and the controller would get it to the owner. The owner was a really crazy guy. Brilliant man, but crazy.
Did you know him?
No, I didn't know him. I passed by him when I went to drop my money off from the day's deliveries. And he was hands-on. The environment was open like this. So, his desk was where Howie, the guy in the blue shirt, is. The guy who did the delivery was where that young lady there, Karen, is. And I'd come up the stairs, and, it was open office. And he goes, he said, my boss at the time said, hey, Les wants to see you. I'm like, oh, shit. Because Les was a maniac. Great guy, but a maniac. And I'm like, oh, crap. And he goes, hey, so what are you doing driving a truck? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I see you wrote this proposal. I said, remember that gift card you gave me for, it was a bond for that kid, my daughter? Oh, I get it. You got pregnant? Yeah. So I had to make money. And long story short, he said, what do you want to do? And he said, well, we already hired a company called Arthur Anderson back then. So you know who they are today, but they're gone. And they were small at the time, but big for them. Not as big as they were before they went out. And they came in computerized, so that was out. I said, how about sales? And so I got into wholesale. And that's where I volunteered to come in on Monday. And within 6 months, I was their number one salesman. The average guy was selling $300,000, I sold $1 million a month. And I was doing at that time in '85 about $60,000 a year in commission. So it was pretty heady time.
You took a nice pay raise.
I did. We moved to a much better apartment.
Nice.
I closed that place on Route 27 in Edison. I'll never forget it. And bought a new car and lived the life. And then that started the entrepreneurship going full steam ahead.
So what was your what really built you to be an entrepreneur? What do you think when you were young?
You really ask good questions. Yeah. So it really started at Tops. I was doing $1 million, and I had 2 phones. I literally was doing this like a stockbroker.
Yeah.
And I said, hey guys, can I get an assistant? I'll even pay for him. And I knew Les, the owner. I knew all the big guys because I was doing something most guys weren't. I was selling a lot of stuff, so I was high visibility, and I brought them a lot of money. And they said no. I said, why? They said, it wouldn't look good for your other people. I said, well, they're morons. They're doing $300,000. I'm doing $1 million. I could do $2 or $3 million if I had somebody to help me, like process the order, take the orders. Can't do it. Political, right? Not to mention one of the big guys' brother-in-law I worked with, and I made him look bad. Not intentional, but it is what it is. And he said, no. So I said, screw it. So somebody offered me to come work for him, and I said, I'm not a good employee. I don't like I don't like to be handcuffed. I said, but I'll be a great partner. I'll make you more money than you're going to probably make for me. So I took what I understood there, and went off, started my first business with these guys. They were good, but a little shady. And then parlayed that into the next 3 companies that I started for other people. I had a little piece, but I was basically, they paid me. So one was a public company. I became a director at an early public company at, I guess, 23. Another one was a national company. And I parlayed each one. I kept bringing them over along with me. And so I'm always just looking for opportunities and to grow. And that was the first 4 companies I built.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about Need to Know. It was one of the first internet agencies ever, and
Yeah.
you kind of pioneered that. So,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about it. What opportunity did you see in the internet that no one else was seeing at that time?
So I was out at Carnegie Mellon, not as a student, visiting somebody, and I was doing the internet in '89 through CompuServe. So I was one of the first e-commerce guys, and we were selling through bulletin boards and black and white text. There was no images. In fact, I got one of the first images ever made from CompuServe. They created the GIF, GIF 89A and 89B, and they don't call it that anymore. It's just GIF. But they created that format so that we could go from. They were the biggest network, if you will, at the time. Even though the internet was around, it was more colleges, the Desales type thing, more of the major colleges and stuff, and for defense. And so I was out at Carnegie Mellon meeting with somebody about another project we were working on, and he said, "Have you seen this internet thing?" I'm like, oh God, the internet, what a pain in the ass. Because when you got off of CompuServe and went on the internet, it was a real pain in the ass. I mean, we're talking real pain in the ass. Nothing like today, or even back in the dial-up days, worse. And I said, no, he goes, no, it's this thing called the web. And that's when the World Wide Web was, coming out. And he showed it to me, it was clunky and all, and I'm like, holy crap. So I came back to, I think I was living in New York at the time. And I started thinking about it. So I called one of my friends, hey, we should do, and at the time we didn't know of Yahoo, but we were going to do what Yahoo came out, which was a hierarchical directory of all the information. Yeah. A super director, if you will. But not like we think of business director, but a directory of web pages. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing it, and we couldn't find anybody to program it. And then we heard about Yahoo, and they raised like 10 million. We're like, oh shit, they beat us to the punch. Now, we weren't so in love with the project that we couldn't give it up, but we realized that we couldn't find anybody. So he said, well, I can do a little database. He said, you could. So we started doing our own website. One thing led to another. People were like, hey, can you help us with ours? I'm like, oh, okay. So we started that up. That was a little slow in the beginning. Beginning of the internet was Wild West. It was really, really hard. I mean, forgetting getting on the internet, just getting information. You couldn't. There was Usenets and stuff like that. And so one thing led to another, and I'd say by '96 we started seeing the future, and we were doing stuff, so we created that company. Mm-hmm. I had another company at the same time. That was an opportunity company. It wasn't like I believed for long term, but we sold that a few years later. And yeah, that was Zack Industries. Okay. It's just because I love my name, so
Yeah.
But that was a ticketing concession company, and we started, made good money, and then when the opportunity came, we saw it, which was what we were like. It was a short-lived thing. That funded Need to Know. So things started to take off, and we were doing well until the internet bubble burst. And then we did really well.
Yeah.
Because people were out there selling websites for like 50,000. We were at 10,000, 5,000, because it was legitimate, profitable, but they were really banging the hell out of the price. And so when all that went away and legitimacy set in after the dot-com bubble burst, our business took off. Mm-hmm. And we actually had one of the first template sites back in '99. No one would buy it, way early. We built our own.
When you say template website, Wix.
What Wix is doing today, what you get on Google, WordPress.
Yeah.
We built that in 1999. We had our whole thing, not a content management system. We did that a little later on. It wasn't exactly, but we did. So we had all this stuff way ahead of time. And sometimes that's not the good thing to do.
It's kind of been your whole life, right?
Yeah, actually, no. A couple times have been good timing, but yeah, okay. I definitely learned the hard way. Sometimes early is not the best.
Right.
But, like Friendster and MySpace can tell you that, if they would have waited longer, done it better, they would have been Facebook. But Facebook will tell you, if it wasn't for them being morons, Facebook wouldn't be Facebook today. So, you learn.
Sure.
It is what it is.
Sure, absolutely. So you went on to, like you said, you went on to create a couple new companies, 3 to be exact. And what was really the whole point of those?
Of the companies?
Yeah.
I always like working with small businesses.
Right.
And I learned a long time ago that if you could teach them what to do, and they trust you, that you can make a lot of money that way. And that's what I did in the Tops Appliance. I taught all these small businesses who were buying wholesale, like, no, don't buy the Sony, which your customers want. Buy the RCA, it's a better TV, and it actually was, and it's a higher profit. And so I taught them the right way to do it versus just buy it and resell it. Actually how to sell. And so by teaching that, they paid attention, I made more money. When I called them up and said, hey, I got a JVC this or JVC that, which wasn't as hot as Sony, but still high quality, they would buy it because they made more money on it. And that's where I really got my, in that time, power, if you will, is that I was one of the biggest movers in electronics at a time when camcorders were $2,000.
Is this something you learned as you were, driving a truck and doing sales for?
Nah, then I just like driving around.
Yeah, okay.
I think I was pretty smart, but
yeah.
No, I think it was those first 4 companies. I had people there. They gave me the funding. They trusted me. As most people would say that I worked for. They said, yeah, John doesn't work for us. John does his own thing, but we let him be. Mm-hmm. And because I hit my numbers and I delivered, and I always respected what they needed, but at the same token, I had to just do my thing.
Right.
And so I respect that, but at the same token, I wasn't running around like a wild man. Mm-hmm. But during that time is when I really learned a lot of things. We used to do collections with a baseball bat in New York sometimes. Mm-hmm. Now, thankfully, I hadn't had to use it, but I learned about money laundering. I learned about the VIG. We had a building right next to JFK when the mob ran JFK Airport. Our neighbors were firebombed. My partner was an Italian guy in Brooklyn. He said, no, we're not going to rent because we'll have to pay the VIG, so we'll go with a national company. Mob didn't mess with a national company, so that was right in front of me. I dealt with people like Crazy Eddie, the old guy. The Jewish mob used to fund him. I was taken to the Old Homestead, which is a steakhouse in New York, at a time where you didn't go anywhere near this, but here's this little oasis in the middle of crap section with transvestite prostitutes and drugs in the 90s, 80s also, 80s. And here I am meeting with a guy who pretty much funded Crazy Eddie with the Jewish mob. And he wanted to do business. So these are the people I did business with. People coming off the boat from over there, real merchant bazaars, people who sold things, and they'd screw you, take your money and run, and say, come on, you want to go home and have dinner with us?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of stuff from them, and some really bad stuff, but stuff that I didn't do, but I saw. And from that, I realized what I wanted to do, but it also made me a little smarter in business.
So you were good at forging those partnerships. Could you kind of dive more into what it takes to build a good partnerships? A lot of these entrepreneurial companies, they need to do that to grow. A lot of these startups now.
I'd be very careful with joining partnerships. I know a lot of people believe that that's the case. I would tell you that partnerships are not the best way to grow your business, unless if you have something that's so unique that no one couldn't buy it, and you can actually embed yourself into that company, that you're almost like working for them, which is what I did for the first 4 companies. I had something very unique, and I embedded with them. They needed me more than I needed them. And that situation worked very well. But since then, I've done other partnerships where we weren't as important to them as they were to us. And in that situation, I see a lot of entrepreneurs really go down this path of, wow, if we can just get 4 of these people. And it appears to be better, an easier path, but in reality is you will find that it's probably the worst path to go. So I would rather see people sell direct and bring value first, and then later on when they're actually bringing value to a partnership, they have a lot more strength. Because typically when you're an entrepreneur and you're going out and bringing what you perceive value to them, they're bringing you more value than vice versa, which means they have the upper hand. And they're just going to use the hell out of you. But for example, here's where it works. So State Farm Insurance, we were doing business with them for insurance replacement. So back in the day, it's different now, and we helped change this. I'm not saying we did it, but we helped change it. If you lost something, had something stolen, you put a claim in, you went and got a price, they said, oh, it's $3,000, you got the $3,000, you went and bought it, you bought it for less. State Farm said, you know what, we're going to get them that exact product, but updated. So we would provide that camcorder got stolen or whatever. And I would say to them, okay, so we're doing this. They said to us, we'll never do more than $250,000 a year with you. I'm like, why? He says, number one, you're from New York. Now I'm in Bloomington, Indiana. You want to talk about podunk? Holy crap. But a cool place, really, really nothing like New York and what I was, playing around the cesspool.
Sure.
And they said, we'll never do more than $250,000 a year for you because you're from New York. We don't trust you guys. What the hell kind of answer is that? Understood. So I found out what their biggest problem was is that it took them 4 weeks to get that process, that claim process, by just asking questions. And I said, well, wait a minute. If I could deliver everything to you for 2-day air, and I'm going way back, would you do it? And they go, yeah, we're not paying the extra fee, though. And I said, I'll eat the fee. What they didn't know is we became one of the partners with FedEx. Myself, well, the company at the time, BMW, and Lands End. And they shipped a lot. We didn't. We shipped a container a day with FedEx. We were shipping stuff all over the country, 2-day delivery, less than you could send it by truck or by UPS. And we had that special deal. We were one of 3 companies. So that's where we were good for FedEx, because we weren't BMW or Lands End, which had four L-1011s sitting up in Portland Airport every day, L-1011 being a plane. They just loaded them up and they needed to see how it would work in the small. We did that. So we provided them something they needed. They provided something. We had a great deal. So I went back to State Farm. When I sold it back to my partner, last time I heard from him about 8-9 years ago, they were doing $15 million a year with State Farm. So we blew past the 250 because they needed us more than we wanted them.
Gotcha.
So it's very hard to build that partnership unless you can really do that.
Okay.
So that would be the key to answer your question. But I would caution people, and believe me, we've done it even in Zack, and we've gotten hurt by it. Not necessarily lost, maybe revenues, but it slowed us down by doing some of those partnerships.
Okay. So let's go back to your time with Need to Know a little bit. As you were developing that company, you guys had like 1,000 IP addresses, which was a pretty big deal at that time.
Yeah.
And you guys went in and you did different hosting and email and stuff like that. So were you one of the first companies offering email and hosting, or were you?
We weren't. So there's a lot of companies offering that. But
Right.
We were the first agency, probably in New York, New Jersey. We were a top 25 agency, actually, not our ranking to this thing, by the time we sold it. We were the first ones to integrate everything.
Okay.
Because, again, I don't like having my hands, shackled. Every time we would build a website and put it up somewhere, if there was a problem, hang on, we got to call the hosting company. We call them, oh, it's not us. Meanwhile, we're dealing with morons, right? Because this is early on, so bad word, moron. Inexperienced people. There's a lot of them. We were too. The difference was we cared. They didn't. We paid the fee and that's it. So we said, so we put up one of the first Windows servers in New Jersey. Maybe even New York, but that might be a stretch. And then we realized
What year did you put the Windows server up?
96.
So everyone's using Unix.
Oh, yeah. Everybody thought we were nuts.
Right.
Everybody's like, you don't understand. It's going to be Unix. You guys, you don't understand Unix. I said, Unix? Oh, my God, I can't do anything for less than 50 grand with Unix. I said, number one. Number two, and where's Arlen, or Mark, that guy I met earlier today, the programmer? Where is he? Here he is, Mylan, right? Yeah. He's doing .NET. Why? I said to him, you always make money doing .NET, Microsoft. Why? Because every corporation has Microsoft, and you can't pull Microsoft out and overnight. So there always will be Microsoft programming. And we said, Microsoft's ubiquitous. It's on everybody's desktop. So where's the most people you can get programming for? Microsoft, even though it was a little arcane back then. So we went head on that. A year later, people were like, hey, can you help us with our Microsoft server? I'm like, yeah, for a high fee, we will. But we didn't want any limitations, and we also wanted total control. And that's one thing that I'm not a control freak. No, Charles will tell you differently. But I like control, whether I have it or somebody has it, because then we can control the quality. And for me, that's very important. That's one of the reasons I started my own wholesale company up from Tops, because I want to control the quality. And if I can control the quality, and we're not going to be the best, that's fine, but as long as we know the level we're setting, so we set the right expectations. And by doing that, you can sell a lot faster, and you can grow much quicker, because people know what to expect. I think, where's the other guy I was talking to? Where is he? No, not you, Mylan, the other guy. Oh, he's right in front of me. Jonathan. He just exited from can I say this?
Yeah.
Exited from a bad partnership. Not horrible, not screwing over type thing, but they had no idea what direction. That wasn't his fault. That was his partner's fault. He was supposed to be managing it. So if you don't know where you're going, you can't set expectations, you can't control that, you still can't meet or beat expectations.
Sure.
So that's kind of been my history.
Sure. And you guys actually sold that company twice then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being top 25, why would you sell?
So at that time, exits were at 0.75, meaning so whatever your revenues times 0.75, because of service business, it's still service business. I hate service businesses. As much as I've been doing them, I provide service, I hate them. They're people sensitive, they're people centric also. Mm-hmm. And so again, can't control quality. So if you're a large corporation, you have the process codified, you don't need